Since the dawn of civilization, the elusive quest in pursuit of the perfect drink continues to evolve. Now more than ever, we reap the rewards of this passion. The perfect vintage, the finest brew, or a spirit of optimum age and class. And now, SoFloRadio.com invites you to discover the wonderful world of booze by the glass.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to By the Glass. I'm your host, Brett Hubbard, and I'm welcoming you to explore the wonderful world of wine, beer, spirits, and everything in between. I have an awesome show for you tonight. I'm joined by my guest host, Jason. He's back there in the shadows tonight, so he'll just be chiming in when I talk about cat poop coffee, because tonight's show is all about coffee. We have a wonderful show tonight, and we're very, very lucky to have Suzy Ludlow and John Robichaud from Expresso in the house. Welcome, guys, for coming down and sitting in the studio with us tonight.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, John, we want to push you, Jason, if you would just help him out there. Yeah, we got to get right up on these mics because that's the way it is in the studio. You know what I mean? You got to get in, got to shout, and tell us what it's all about. And what it's all about tonight's coffee, folks. That's our show. And you know, when we talk about beverage and beverage culture, really what it is it's a form of expression that we all that we live in. You know, it's our world. And John and Suzy are really a part of that world. Just because it's a beverage that doesn't necessarily have alcohol in it doesn't mean that it's not a beverage that's changed the world, been a part of the world, been a part of culture, and something. I think if you look at beverages as a whole and how they're consumed, it's got to be water, beer, coffee, probably in that order, I would imagine, that are most consumed beverages in the world. And I know that water and beer are number 1 and 2. I would imagine coffee's probably number 3. It's got to be right up there.
Well, especially here in the States.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a fantastic thing. And we always say everything in between on the show, and coffee's a big part of that. So welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You guys are the proprietors at Expresso, and right downtown Fort Lauderdale, 1900 South Andrews Avenue in Fort Lauderdale, right next to the Broward General Hospital.
Very close.
Yeah. So, please.
Well, we've been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And we've been serving coffee there.
Having
fast
a great
and
time.
furious, yeah.
Good people. Water, tea, beer, then coffee. Okay. So tea got thrown in there, but probably because of Asia. They drink a lot of tea in Asia. So that's probably what it is. So you guys been down here for 20 years, and that's pretty amazing. Tell me a little bit about your story. You just kind of came down from Maine?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep. Well, we bought a Ford Econoline van and
Cool.
set it up as a mini RV and tooled down here. Took a couple months and stopped for a little bit. And next thing we know, we had a business. Yeah.
Right. It's funny. I just was behind
great.
a tag from Maine. It said vacation land. Maine is vacation land. And I said, maybe in the summer. But it's got to be very beautiful up there.
Beautiful.
Just
It's
absolutely.
always said vacation land on the plate.
Yeah,
Always.
it's just natural beauty. It's second to none. Even Florida, even the Palm Beaches, can't compare to that. So you guys, January was your 20th anniversary of being open. I mean, how does it feel to be serving? You guys have a great clientele. I would imagine that's a pretty tight knit community down there. I bet you can tell people's orders without even when they just pull right up.
For sure, regulars.
Yeah,
A lot of regulars.
Yeah, we're actually surprised when we see somebody new.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I remember when and coffee's exploded. I remember about 15 years ago, I was living in the Bay Area, and I saw the first Starbucks that came down, and by then you guys had already been doing it for years.
I think that had to have been 30 years ago. Starbucks.
But I'm saying, it did, but that was only in Seattle. I mean, if it just came to San Francisco in 1994.
It didn't come down
Yeah,
here. No.
yeah, so I'm just
we were
saying-
like the first down here.
Right, so there's a coffee explosion. You've been around forever. Yeah.
Meanwhile, like Florida.
I'm trying to give you a compliment here, Suzy. Could you play along just a little bit? Jeez.
Actually,
compliment.
When we first came down here, you couldn't get any good drinks. There was no good beer. There was no good coffee.
Right.
It's changed a lot.
And that's the best. That's what it's all about, and that's what we're doing here. Hello.
Yes, you're helping.
This is By the Glass. This is a show about beverage culture. We come to you every Thursday at 6 o'clock on SoFloRadio.com and ByTheGlassShow.com. We bring you the best in beverage culture, and it's absolutely exploding. promoting. You told me that you were at the event last week that we were doing a live remote, that Beer Times, the New Times Beer Fest.
Yep.
How'd you like it? I mean, it was just a blast, right?
Oh yeah, I love it. I do it a lot. It's a fun time.
Are you good friends with Adam, you said?
Yeah.
Adam Fine,
Yep.
the godfather of craft beer in South Florida, good buddy of mine, absolutely. And we owe him a lot, too, definitely for bringing craft beer to the masses, so to speak. So you guys are the coffee gurus. We brought you in today to talk a little bit about coffee and basically what's it all about, history-wise and that type of thing. I see here that top 10 coffee picks in South Florida. You guys were voted number 1.
Isn't that great?
Isn't that great? Tell me
We
a little
love
bit about that.
Free plug. Our fans are just really devoted. They voted.
Yeah.
John forgot to vote for us. Thanks, John.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they came out and rallied. So we're thankful to that. That was fun. That was a great time.
Yeah, we really got a lot of business out of it too.
Yeah.
That's great. What made you choose coffee to go into as opposed to another delicatessen or something? Is it something that you had a history with, or?
Well, on the road trip down here from Maine,
Right.
I was always seeking out good coffee.
Oh.
I mean, I probably drove John a little crazy. Like 7-Eleven will not do it, so we
Right.
had to find the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
You know what's funny? I'm going to say this. I'm just going to put it out there. Probably everybody's going to tell me I'm crazy, but I hate Dunkin' Donuts. That coffee's like water. I can't imagine anyone would
it
drink
tastes a little bit like a donut to me.
It's just that they put all that sugar but it's like you drink it and it's like I can't even this. There's no body to it. It's got nothing to it. It's like
Yeah,
water and
thin.
milk with sugar in it. Okay, you would like it. Jason would like
It's
it.
refreshing me because it is. Starbucks is the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Over-roasted.
And I'm getting feedback here. I hear feedback. So I don't know if that's me or maybe it's just that speaker, but I'm just letting you know. So the other, I'm glad you talk about the spectrum, okay? Because we talk about the watery Dunkin' Donuts, and then we talk about the bitter Starbucks. So talk to me about your knowledge of the spectrum. Now, that's the acidity of the coffee? What are the aspects of coffee?
I think it's more about the way they brew it.
Okay, it's about the
do
way they brew it.
everything,
How do you brew? What are some of your techniques?
Well, we try to do everything the right way. Everything's fresh. We don't grind it until right before we brew it. We filter our water. Our coffee is much fresher than anything you're going to get anywhere else. Generally, you're going to find that the beans in most coffee shops are at least a month old.
Right.
Ours are at the most 2 weeks at the last minute when they're sold out. I mean, at the most.
So storage is a big component of selling coffee?
Huge.
And so obviously the less air that gets to it, it changes the way that the bean is produced.
And light. You don't want light to get to it.
Okay, so it's a little bit like beer. Avoid air,
yeah.
moisture,
Yeah.
light, heat, that type of thing.
Yep, same.
So how do you guys store your coffee? I mean, what's the difference? I mean, do you have certain containers you use? Is there some black?
Well, first of all,
opaque?
they
Yeah.
come in an air-sealed bag with what would you call that, compression seal, that
It's
vacuum sealed.
Yeah, it's a vacuum seal.
And
Very cool.
we keep them in that till we have to divvy it up. And then they're not in direct light. And
Right.
they're in a cubby otherwise.
Uh-huh.
And in an air-conditioned, we keep the air conditioning running all 24 hours a day.
And I've seen the establishment. You have a drive up where you serve. Now,
Yeah.
can people go inside too? Is it dual? It's just drive up.
It's only 400 square feet. There's
Well,
not
I
enough
know
of
it's
it.
pretty small, but
With
it's
the
very cool.
machines and the
How many
employees.
people do you guys serve an hour? You think?
In the morning, I guess we probably do 300 or 400 in the 3 hours.
It's right there. It's pretty small.
It's very quick.
Just about a minute a customer.
It's about half the size of the smallest McDonald's you've ever seen.
It's
maybe
20
even
by
a quarter
20.
size. Yeah, it's 20 by 20. It's pretty small.
It's a lot like I can't remember. It's the one with the cow, the little shops all over Dade.
The farm stores.
farm stores.
It's a
there
little
you go.
bigger than
little
that.
bigger than that.
little bigger
We
than
think it used to be a Dairy Queen.
I know it was a Dairy Queen for sure.
Oh, was it Dairy
Okay.
Queen? Okay, that's cool. That's very
So
interesting.
it's like a Dairy Queen.
Yeah. So cool, dark, dry places work best for
Yes,
coffee storage.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then you should avoid fridges and freezers, right?
I think so. I think that dehydrates the bean. Yeah, key is just don't try to buy mass quantities
Right.
if it,
Yeah, if you really want a good cup of coffee at home, you want to buy a little bit and grind it right before you brew it. And freshness is all really what it matters.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about where you get your coffee from and how you select it. Do you have a distributor you like better than? I mean, you don't have to. Don't say any names, but I'm just saying. Do you have? I mean, how do you go about that? Is there somebody that you work well with? Is there a guy who pulls up to the back door and opens his trunk and goes, "Hey, man"?
Well, yeah, we got a little of all that.
Right.
The
Okay.
thing
I'm
is,
intrigued.
you don't want to burn bridges. You need
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 roasters that you're working with at all times.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. You're getting into the nitty gritty. This is what I want to talk about. I want to bring it to the people. Roasters, keyword. Talk to me about what's a roaster. I have no idea.
They're the ones who are gonna like get the quinoa bean shipped to them green, and then they'll roast
You
it.
just rhymed. That was awesome. Get the quinoa bean shipped to them green. I love that. Now, is that a motto that you have on the wall or something, or what's going on?
No.
Next week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Next week.
Will be soon.
Great. So you want the green bean,
Yeah.
right?
We don't get the green bean
Would-
because we don't roast it, but they are gonna get the
They
green
want
bean.
it shipped to stateside from Kenya.
Right.
Now,
right.
Kenya is one of the top. Now, I got a list here of all the different places. I'm going to let you finish, but Kenya is a great place.
Kenya's great coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the best.
A rare
Most
coffee, too.
flavorful, has all the nuances you're looking for. So a green bean doesn't go stale. So they're safe in getting mass quantities of green bean. You know,
Okay.
if it's a good harvest or something, they're going to do that.
Right.
Then they're going to roast when I call them and I need it,
Sure.
and then ship it, and it'll be
So they ship
at our
from
door
within
in
the U.S.
4 days. Yep.
Is the proximity close?
Atlanta right now.
That's pretty close. What is that, about
But
12
we used
hours?
to use a guy like in Cape Coral. But
Okay.
Before that, we were in Pompano, actually.
And then we were in,
Really?
but sometimes relationships with your roaster,
Oh. Let's not talk about that.
Jason
They-
was pointing out they roast beans next door, and John was poo-pooing on that. He said,
I didn't say anything bad.
I'm sure they do a great job.
"No, absolutely. I'm sure.
we,
It's funny
we
here."
need a lot though. They got to
Yeah,
be
of course.
able to.
You know,
Well,
our
there's-
job is
yeah.
picking a roaster that we trust because they really know more about it than we do. And I know for a fact that what our roaster does is they actually send for say a couple pounds of green beans.
Right.
They take it to their shop, they roast it, they cup it, they try it, they decide on it, and they've got a specific number, so that when they say, okay, we like this one, send us that one, they will check the pallet when it comes, and it is definitely the pounds that they ordered and cupped are definitely from that pallet, and
Right.
they really know what they're doing.
So the quality control level is what you're looking for,
Yeah.
because the specificity of the coffee, where it comes from. These are the things that really put them in a different category, as opposed to the guys who's more bulk. He might be blending. I mean, are there people out there
Or
that are
sweeping
blending
the
different,
floor.
sweeping the floor, loading it
Yeah.
in, blending different beans, giving you what's left? That kind of thing can happen,
Well,
right?
blending is a good thing too. Some coffees are better when they're blended.
Well, just like
but-
wine and beer and any other beverage. Yeah. But it's interesting thing is that the coffee's pre-blended when it's still the bean, right? I mean, have you heard anybody like blending coffee after it's been made, or after? I mean, do they do like a 50-50 blend? Is that like crazy way out there?
Maybe they want half decaf or something.
Okay, half
Yeah.
decaf, but I figure if you got something that's very acidic and something that's really like low pH, you put the two together and you get something wild, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm just thinking outside
You get
the box.
something good. That's
Yeah,
that's
that
good.
might be interesting. We blend beers here. Like last week or two weeks ago, we had a really hoppy IPA. Remember, guys?
Yes.
And then we added it to a porter,
The Bermuda's Triangle. If I
and we
remember.
added those two together, and it was like the best damn black and tan we ever had.
Yeah, it was
And,
very
that's
good.
just a beer
I'm
blend.
salivating.
Yeah, no, and it's cool. We got some beer. We can pour it. We're gonna actually drink. We're gonna, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We're gonna drink some coffee. I want to grab some water too, and then I'm actually gonna grab some stuff to put in the coffee. I'm gonna try it regular, and then we'll put some stuff in it, and then we'll put some booze in it because this is a beverage show. So we're gonna do all that. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about coffee. I'm By the Glass on SoFloRadio.com.
Wonderful SoFlo Radio.
The Humana prescription savings card, and the offer is discount only and is not insurance.
Have you had trouble getting health insurance? Are you simply paying way too much? Finally, the ICANN Benefit Group has affordable health insurance choices for everyone, regardless of any health-related factors or conditions. Have you been turned down? Solve your health care crisis today and get benefits you can afford. It's quick and easy. ICANN Benefit Group can help. Our plans provide access to doctors, hospitals, dental care, preventive care, and emergency services. And whether we find a plan that fits your budget or not, we'll give you a Humana prescription savings card at no cost just for calling. Remember, your quote is free, and we have licensed insurance agents standing by. This is a call you can't afford not to make. So what are you waiting for? Call for your free quote now. Call 800-799-9735. That's 800-799-9735. 800-799-9735. It's free to call. 800-799-9735.
CBC5 is the executive liaison for all your building compliance clients' needs. Serving South Florida from the Palm Beaches to Key West, CBC5 delivers 5-star service that brings...
what's this ABC or BDQ or whatever?
CBC5. It stands for Complete Building Compliance.
Oh, I ain't building nothing, so what can they do for me?
Well, they do more than plan review and permitting. They help the little guy cut through red tape.
I got duct tape holding together my carport.
Well, CBC5 can help. Let them deal with bureaucrats. They helped George Rodriguez solve a sewer lateral problem, and they saved him a ton of money and hassles.
By City Hall, who can do that?
CBC5 can do that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a commercial to finish. Contact Shoddy the Hottie at CBC5 786-255-3851 or log on to cbc5.net. That's cbc5.net.
Is your computer getting slower? Is your printer not working right? Can't get your smartphone to work with your PC? Or is the internet taking so long to load that it seems like the worldwide wait? I'm Luke Ford, CEO of My Computer Works. Every day we help people just like you fix their computer problems. We offer an affordable way to help you with your computer. It's fast, safe, and reliable. But you don't have to believe me. Here's what our customers are saying.
Thank you so much for My Computer Works. I feel like I've got a new partner. They did just as they promised. They were very friendly, and I will highly recommend them to my family and friends and other business associates.
You know, technology keeps advancing, and it's very hard to keep up. So My Computer Works is definitely a service that I can't do without.
It's affordable, fast, and safe. It's My Computer Works. Just call 1-800-618-3090. 1-800-618-3090. That's 1-800-618-3090.
It's post time. Join JJ and me, Sam, every weekday evening from 4 to 6 to talk horses. Listen live on SoFloRadio.com or listen at your convenience via iTunes or JoltNation.com. Now, more than ever, this ongoing conversation regarding the future of horse racing is vital to horsemen and the horses they care for. So tune in and join the conversation. Call in, email, or even tweet. We're also on Facebook. Help bring our sport to the level it deserves to be on. It's Post Time with JJ Gracie on SoFloRadio.com.
Woo! Welcome back to My Glass Show. I'll tell you what, that was crazy. Yeah. We got Dio sitting here on the board, and I'm like, what about the rejoin? He's like, nah, we're going right to the punk rock music. Yeah, because, we're doing a coffee show, and it's all about black coffee, and we're drinking some black coffee, and, it gives you a nice buzz, this coffee, and big coffee, and I wanted you guys to get a jolt, and that's what we got here. Jason's over there saying it smells delicious. It absolutely does. I love coffee, and that's one of my favorite things. I'm a beverage guy, so, it's all... Talk to me a little bit about this coffee. Basically, the nuances of it, why you're pouring, the pouring order. Suzy, lay it out for me, please.
Okay, so we got a Kenya double A in front of us, and the double A stands for the size of the bean.
Okay, now the double A, would that be better than a single A? Is that stupid?
I've never seen a single A, and I guess there is a double A plus out there. But double A is a grading system. The bean is large. And I'm going to show you an example of it.
Okay,
so.
yeah. Okay, great.
So this coffee is a medium body.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
I would say a medium to dark roast.
Okay.
Meaning that the oils are starting to come to the surface of the coffee, which helps get the flavor on your tongue. It's important to have those oils out there.
So... Okay, so the bean itself, when you look at it, some are more oily, some are more dry, correct?
Yeah, there's always going to be a little variety there.
The variation is what's important to the coffee style.
Yeah, I could put my roaster's toast to the furnace on that though, because
you could actually dry it out yourself a little bit.
Demand that it was more.
Oh, you can put your roaster's toast to the furnace. Okay,
but I think that looks like a nice big bean. And
yeah, it's a good sized bean.
When you look at coffee beans all the time, you see
nice
little
nuances.
Bag, right, I just brought, little,
yes, this is just
little
a joke
look
there.
at it. And, okay, so this is going to be medium body with some acid. And you want acid in your coffee because that sort of livens up your flavor experience.
Uh-huh.
That's the top note, you might call
Okay,
it.
so acid is a very important component in coffee. Now, acid and oil both, you can sometimes see oil on the top of coffee.
Yeah.
Now, talk to me about, how acid, the coffees vary with the acid in them. I mean, what is that?
Okay, well, the 3 varieties we're going to play
Right.
with today.
Uh-huh.
This one is medium acid, sort of medium body. Some people describe it as a winey flavor, but I'm
Like
going to
a
let you
Venice.
guys say what you think is coming
Okay.
to mind, like grassy
Jason's pretty
or whatever
whiny,
you think.
but he's not on mic. So.
And then the other 2 coffees, we're going to do a Honduran, which is a lighter roast and less oils come to the surface.
Okay.
And you're going to taste probably some more acid in that because
Okay.
that's the characteristic of the Central American kind of and South
Okay,
American
so Central.
coffees.
Okay, perfect.
And then the last coffee is Indonesian Sumatra. So
Ah.
and that's like low acid and heavy body.
Okay, so low acid, heavy bodied. Now that means a higher pH then would be, or lower
Maybe.
pH, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the pH generally, the lower the pH is, the more acid. I think.
We're not talking like acid that's going to upset your stomach that some people
No,
think is
but
so bad.
no, but
the pH levels.
The pH levels of acid would be kind of an indicator of a bitterness, so to speak. I reference hops, which are very similar in the pH levels, and they have alpha acids in them, which are the similar. I'm imagining the acids in coffees. Now, that don't quote me on that, but it makes sense to me from a chemistry type of aspect. I study these hops tremendously.
I know that as the bean roasts,
Right.
carbohydrates transform into different things, and
Okay.
eventually one
makes sense.
acid turns into a different type of acid, and
Right.
an acid is desirable at the end.
Right. Okay. But it's exactly like hops. It's called isomerization, and basically what happens is a chemical reaction that when you heat the acid, the alpha acid, then it turns from one type of acid to another, and that gives it a bitterness. It's the same exact. It's got to be the same exact thing. It sounds the same in chemistry wise. Yeah.
I
very
think
cool.
you're probably right.
Yeah.
And then also as it roasts and it gets darker and you're bringing out those oils and it's darker and you're getting darker, French rosé or, like the Mocha Java, it's you're bringing out caramels, So you're gonna
Nice.
that last coffee you'll probably taste maybe a little caramel undertones.
That's the Maillard principle. You guys familiar with that one? Anything roasted, doesn't matter what it is.
Sugars, right? Yeah.
Well,
caramel.
caramelization is a form of Maillard principle. Basically, it's like when you roast meat, when you roast coffee, when you roast anything at all, when you char something, that darkness that it gets. If you take malt that's makes beer, and you generally malt is it's a grain, so barley is a light colored grain. It's a very blonde. But then when you roast it, you soak it in water and let it absorb water, then heat it to dry by roasting it. By the more you roast the grain, the more sweetness you're going to get out of it, and that's a very similar, I would imagine, concept with the coffee too.
Sounds
so very
good.
cool. Yeah, that's why I like it's beverage, right?
Yeah.
Beer, coffee. I mean, they're a little bit more connected than we would ever thought.
Yes, definitely.
And that's the beauty of it. So absolutely. So okay, so we're sticking this one to our nose here, and we're talking a little about it. You're right. This is hot. Boy, those things work
It's not
really
bad.
good.
You could swirl it around.
I'm swirling it here, and this is the Kenya AA. So what do you guys think without putting any sugar or any rum in it? I mean, what do you think about this one?
This is completely different than what I'm used to. 'Cause I'm Cuban, so I'm used to like really thick coffee, and this is almost like a tea kind of.
Oh, to you. You don't go to Dunkin' Donuts then.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right?
and I like this. This is really nice.
You'll see a big difference between
low
African and South American.
I don't get a lot of bitterness off of this one at all. It's very
No, it's
smooth.
very nice.
Tasting good.
This is the kind of coffee you could actually just drink black. And
Yeah,
very
no,
nice.
this is fine by itself. I don't
We'll
need
all
to do
be
anything.
black coffee drinkers by the end of this.
Woohoo! Yeah.
You
Very
should
cool.
be able to drink it black. I mean, cream and sugar really is an afterthought.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you're a purist. So, I mean, there was times when I did in my life when I used to live in San Francisco, I would drink it black because I just was like, screw it. I'm just going to drink it black. And I would find some decent coffees that I liked. But over time, I've kind of wussified myself back to the cream and sugar of the days. But that's because the coffee that I get on a general basis isn't necessarily all that good.
Well, you know where you need to go from now on, right?
I do, but most of it's made at work, and you know what I mean. It's nothing I can do about it. But anyway, so this is amazing stuff here. This is the Kenya AA, and I got to say, it's opening up my eyes to a whole new kind of coffee.
This is, it reminds me of like a coffee flavored tea. I don't know if that's completely off base, but it's light and it's really easy to drink. And I'm not a coffee drinker because to me every coffee I've ever had is always kind of standoffish.
So you guys know. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So every coffee you've ever had has been obviously Cuban coffee. Now, how does that? I mean, you guys have the inner workings of that. Is that now? How do they make a cafecito? Is that like
Oh no, that
high
I like.
pressure? Or?
Yeah, well, you put it in a
Some of you guys have any experience with?
Cuban coffee really is just espresso, and it's the way it's brewed.
Right. So,
and the big thing is
sugar.
How much sugar you put in it,
Yeah.
and when you put the sugar in.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the process.
You always put the sugar in the bottom of the cup,
Right.
And it brings us back to caramelization.
Yes.
Because if you just throw the sugar on top of a hot coffee that's already been brewed, it's just going to sweeten it. Whereas if you pour the hot espresso on the sugar, it caramelizes the sugar when it goes in, and that's why your Cuban coffee
Brilliant.
tastes a little caramely.
I've been looking for that answer for years. No one could ever give it
Yeah,
to
you
me.
put
And I'm
it-
Italian, and I didn't know. Is it the same thing with espresso? Do they do the same thing?
Well, an Italian espresso is going to be the Arabica bean.
It doesn't necessarily have sugar. A Cuban coffee, really, the definition of a Cuban coffee is espresso with sugar.
And a Robusto bean.
Yeah. And
So
generally,
it's-
they use brown sugar also.
Brown sugar, tastes
Really?
so good.
Not any Cuban I've ever met.
Yeah, I don't know.
he knows a few. Anyway, well, that's the kind of stuff we were very interested in.
We sell a
And-
lot of it, Cuban coffee.
Yeah,
great.
And do you sell the? I mean, so you sell? I know that I can drink an espresso, an Italian espresso, a nice little taza, so to speak, this size, like that. No worries. But that's the whole freaking thing of Cuban coffee, and you
Yeah,
drink it
that's
out
a
of a
double shot
thimble.
there, yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
how
We
do
have
you
the
get
little cups.
I mean, is there a different machine? Can you make it out of the espresso machine? Is there a different
yeah.
setting on the machine, or how does that work?
No.
No, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
You brew it a little short.
It
It's
could
different
be
beans.
a different bean. It could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
We use our
Italian espresso.
espresso. Espresso, yeah. Yeah, for all our
A Cuban
es-
is
espresso
slightly shorter,
colors.
though, right?
A Cuban is slightly shorter. Is that what
I
did you
don't-
just say that?
Some of us are.
But
George is in
slightly.
the
But they pull it a little bit less time.
Oh, George pulls it all the time. I
Yeah.
can imagine. Yeah.
Aw.
No, I'm sorry. This is a show about it's entertainment
We haven't
too.
even started drinking the
I
adult
know it's a
beverages.
joke. Anyway, come on, you set me up for that one. My
Yes.
wife's gonna be like, dude, did you really say that on the air? Anyway, so I got some interesting thing here. It's a note on flavors and the aliases. Have you heard of any of this stuff before? Cinnamon roast, half city, New England.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, do you know about this? Talk to
Yes.
me a little bit about that, please.
All right, so a cinnamon roast, maybe our Honduran is going to be more like a cinnamon
Okay,
roast.
now they call it that because maybe it's a little lighter spice, or
right?
that type of thing.
No, well, like a lighter color, like
Color.
maybe
That's
like
what I
this-
meant. Like cinnamon's a
this
lighter
desk
spice.
here.
It's roasted as dark as the cinnamon
I
looks,
think
like cinnamon.
I think most American coffees are cinnamon roast, although people are getting a little
Right.
into the darker roast.
Right, and they just would technically bunch that together into a light roast category, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Full City is starting to be darker. and,
Okay.
I think much more popular than the cinnamon roast. And it could be called a Viennese roast too. Well, now they're saying this Viennese roast is more like French. I think a Viennese roast is being more like a Full City roast, personally. The sheen is coming out. I think you get your best cup of coffee from a Viennese or Full City roast. And then French roast,
That's amazing.
which is not as popular in Europe as I think we think it is,
Right.
is like a New Orleans roast. Really, possibly going a little too far with the dark roast, the Starbucks
I think it
style.
adds. I think French is tends to be a little bitter to me.
If they use like a good quality bean and maybe a variety of beans, then you can get like the deep tones and the high tones. But if they're using maybe not such a great bean, it's just going to be a burnt taste, flat,
Okay.
one note Charlie kind of thing.
Okay, I got you.
And then Italian and espresso roast don't have to be any darker than these last three.
Right.
It's really the brewing process that makes it, because you
Okay.
wouldn't want a pitch black espresso bean either. You want it to have.
When would you want a pitch black bean?
I don't know. I don't.
Do they
think,
make them though?
Yeah, they do. French roast is good and black.
It's
So-
very rare at our shop. We
So they
don't-
say roaster watch 12 to 13 minutes begins hissing and popping and all that stuff. Have you ever watched coffee being roasted? You guys ever go to
We
them?
visited, yeah.
So you visited a roaster
Mm-hmm.
down here or up in Atlanta?
The one I went to was
Down
in
here.
Pompano. It was pretty interesting. It's quite a process, and it doesn't smell good at first.
Yeah, I think actually I lived in Jacksonville, and it was a Maxwell House factory up there that just spews stench like all the day, all day
Yeah,
long.
the last part of the roast smells like coffee. The first part just smells like almost like bad burning leaves or something. And
Yeah, it was something like
that's
that.
why you really can't do it. People have talked to us about doing roasting in our shop, and it's not. I don't even think it's legal in downtown Fort Lauderdale because of the smell.
DEA
Really?
DEA
Well,
would
it's
be
not
busting in on you.
residential friendly.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. We're well aware.
You think about a green bean. I mean, we should have brought you a couple of green beans if we
found a
could have.
green bean
Oh,
in
did
one
you?
of my-
If you look at the green bean, it literally looks like a plant, and if you start roasting that, it's going to smell like burning leaves.
Burning leaves.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting concept. So the little cherry, they call it, which is the fruit that's around the coffee bean, and then you open that up and it's green inside.
Mhm.
Is that the way it looks?
Yeah.
Now, and there's a lot of, we're going to get later on into the show about all these different little vermin that go up and eat this crazy cool cherry and poop it out and make all kinds of wild stuff. And Jason's very interested in that. Anything cat or weasel related, Jason's very interested in. So, but then we have some really cool beer. I got to thank Ed Roberts. Ed went on a trip last week. He went up to Brooklyn, New York. Ed's our head of research and development, who you've been in contact with, and he went to a really cool brewery that he loves, and he got these coveted bottles. And he went ahead and traded one for the bottle we're gonna be tasting tonight.
All
so,
right.
Yeah, he really goes above and beyond for Body
He
Glass.
certainly did.
Yeah, so very cool stuff, and we can't wait to taste that. And he doesn't even get to taste it because it's only one beer. What are we gonna do? Actually, you know what? I gotta grow. Jason, would you mind or grab the beer out of the freezer? Yeah, that's good. So it doesn't pop, and we actually get to enjoy that beer. So very cool, and I just am actually having a wonderful time here, and we're talking all about coffee and its processes. We got Suzy Ludlow and John Robichaud from Expresso, a little place downtown, 1900 South Andrews Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And right there by the Broward General Hospital, they do about 300 cars in a couple hours in the morning, so they're absolutely packed. So.
Wow.
And what are the hours? There's like from 6 to 9, that type of
6
thing.
to 6.
6 to 6. Wow, you guys are open that. So that's great. Yeah, you have a couple of cups of coffee during that shift, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah.
And we're open Saturdays 7 to 12 too.
That's great. And you guys do catering too, huh? Give yourself a plug because that's always a fun thing. I mean, the fact that you cater. Do you? You got
We like to
anything?
call it takeout catering.
That's cool.
You come and get it. We don't come to you with a tuxedo on and serve it to you. You just
Right.
come and we have it in a package. You take a couple of carafes and
Office meetings.
Well, I tell you what, I'm
Simple.
in the beverage business, and
Brunches.
we do a lot of business meetings, and there's always that kind of thing is always very. Why should Panera and Dunkin' Donuts get all the fun? You know what I mean? Get something that's better quality made.
Get something really good.
Get something that's real, and there's not enough of that going around. I think Florida tends to be too corporate, and you guys are like a little shining star.
Thank you.
Right in the middle of that.
Yeah, I
You know?
agree.
Well, tell me a little bit about your feelings on that. I mean,
Well, South Florida seems to want to be corporate. They don't want to embrace the quirky,
in individualism.
mom and pop or.
I think there's more
entrepreneur.
individualism in Dade and Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to beer and wine, about 1/3 of the restaurants that they have in Broward and Palm Beach down there, they have in Dade, Miami. But they do about 3 times as much volume. I mean, people love to go out down there and really express themselves. Up here, it's varied in between so much different corporate, just a malaise.
People like to stick to their routine.
They stick to their routine, and it's not very fun. So, I think you guys are bringing a little bit fun back to it all. So, I'm very
even
happy with
Broward's
that.
not that bad. It's really Fort Lauderdale in itself. Like the city of Fort Lauderdale is a real pain about, their rules are easy to follow when you're a corporation.
They don't make it easy for small business.
They really don't. They really make it very hard for us every day.
So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the history here of coffee. It came from Africa, so to speak, which is very interesting. I didn't know this. Now, are you guys familiar with the history of coffee?
It came
Some
from
of the
Ethiopia
stories.
originally, I guess.
Yeah, I guess Africa, and then it moved to Arabia,
Mhm.
and then over to Europe, and it did not hit Brazil until the 1700s, which is very interesting because I'm reading here that Brazil is the #1 producing as far as volume. Now, do you guys ever buy any coffee from Brazil? Do you have any experiences
It's a
with
good
them?
blending coffee.
Okay,
It's
so-
like
So
going to
you
be
do-
one
you-
of
so
those.
do you? I mean, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but are you doing your own blends? Do you ever think, I'm going to do a blend this way? Do you have a Suzy's signature blend this way, or your roaster does that for you?
Well, our house is sort of made for us.
Right.
But we don't blend them in the store.
Right, but you pick what you want. You go and talk
Yeah.
to him, and he does that kind of thing. So you do use some of that Brazilian in your blend.
We might.
Colombian's #2 on the list. How do you feel about Colombian?
Colombian is a little bit of a flat coffee. I prefer I mean, Colombian's got Juan Valdez on his side, but like
Okay.
otherwise, I think Costa Rican is a good base coffee.
Interesting. Costa Rica, not even on the list. As far as this is just volume. So I mean, another thing about Brazil too is they consume more beer and wine and spirits than any other country in the world.
Really?
Yeah, it's because of them that Budweiser got taken over by InBev. It's an interesting story, but it all starts with a little brand called Brahma, and they drank more Brahma beer down there that allowed those guys to make so much money that they got invested with Stella. And then Stella sold their rights to Budweiser to distribute in the United States. And then they made so much money distributing Stella that Stella was able to turn around and hostile take over Budweiser.
Really?
And it all starts from a little beer down in
Brahma.
Brazil called Brahma. And they sold so much of it. It doesn't matter what the product is. If you sell 20 times as much as anybody else, you make oodles and oodles of money. And I think that that's just the consumption rate of everything, coffee, alcohol, and God knows whatever else in Brazil is just like 15 times that of the rest of the world. I guess maybe it's because they got so many people or because they're just, they like their beverage. But it's pretty cool. Also, same thing, Presidente Brandy, too. You ever heard of Presidente Brandy? It's from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It's the number one selling brandy in Brazil. And this fueled so much money into the company that makes it knows that they were able to do some hostile takeovers in the spirit world, too. So I thought that's an interesting note that as far as coffee, just to get another tie-in with beverage, 22.5 million bags. Now, what's an average bag size? Do you guys know?
Well,
We
does
get
it
it in
mean
5 pound
I mean,
bags.
they're probably those bags you've seen in over all the years of the big, burlap
the big
sack that says
burlap.
coffee. And it's
That's
kind of
a-
like they painted it with a stencil on there.
I think that's in metric actually, but I think
Yeah.
it's like a 50-pound bag.
50-pound bag, and they're doing 22.5 million bags from down there. So that's just absolutely astounding.
32-pound bags.
So they're 132 pounds. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow.
good. That's kind of I leave
60
Jason on
kilograms.
60 kilograms. That's Jason. No questions, just answers. Jason on the internet. So that's what we do.
Wow,
That's my
I'm
announcement.
stronger than I thought. I've lifted those bags. I thought.
Wow, that's
Hey.
pretty good. You throw them right on your back.
Yeah.
Call you Juan Valdez. So let's see. We got India here, 3.8 million bags. Have you ever had any coffee from India? Have you guys tried coffee from all over the world, or
Pretty much.
the last place you would try it from, Jason? India coffee is disgusting.
I don't know. Never tried it.
I would imagine that it's interesting. It's the birthplace of birthplace of coffee cultivation east of the Arabian Peninsula there. So yeah, India is where they took it to the next level. So very interesting. And the Côte d'Ivoire, that's one of the places down the
Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast that produces quite a bunch of coffee too. So it's coming up all over. Interesting. So we're here on By the Glass. We're talking about coffee today. We have some very interesting guests with us. We have Suzy Ludlow and John Robichaud, and they come to us from Expresso downtown Fort Lauderdale, and they're telling us all about coffee. They're schooling us. They're giving us the ins and outs. We just tried the Kenya Double A, and what'd you guys think of it? Nice, smooth, perfect? Something that you could really have not only for breakfast, but you might want to have in the middle of the day too, and maybe finish the day up. It's interesting because my in-laws, my wife's parents, they like to drink coffee after dinner, and I'm gonna when we come back from the break, I want you guys to talk to me about what's the best coffee for breakfast, what you think the best coffees for midday are, what the coffees for desserts are. We're gonna talk about coffee, its culture, how it works into the American culture, and the history of everything when we come back on By the Glass Show on SoFloRadio.com.
SoFloRadio.com. Radio's dirty little secret.
When you're ready to actually lose weight safely and steadily while being monitored by a physician, the Weight Loss Clinic of Dr. Kim Jacobson is there for you. The family medicine practice was established by her father in 1956 and continues as a medical practice that now specializes in weight reduction. Dr. Kim Jacobson joined the practice 20 years ago as both a family medicine practitioner and weight loss specialist. The Weight Loss Clinic utilizes a combination of appetite suppression medication and vitamins to produce great results, usually 3 to 4 pounds per week for most patients. Now you can change your lifestyle while still enjoying your own food, just less of it. They offer a choice of 2, 3, or 4-week plans. So whether you just need to lose a few pounds or a lot, the Weight Loss Clinic of Dr. Kim Jacobson can help you. They're located at 5454 Northeast 4th Avenue in Miami, just 2 blocks west of 54th Street and Biscayne Boulevard. Call them at 305-751-0091. They'll be happy to answer any and all of your questions. That's 305-751-0091. Get started on a beautiful new body today with Dr. Kim Jacobson and the Weight Loss Clinic.
Have you ever wondered how you could make a difference in someone's life? What if you could help hundreds or even thousands of children? Students in the U.S. rank 32nd in world math skills. It's time for our children to catch up. Become an owner of one of the world's fastest growing franchises, Mathnasium. Mathnasium is the leading math-only learning center in the U.S. Imagine helping hundreds, even thousands of students in your community improve in school and raise their self-esteem. Call us at 800-434-1360. 800-434-1360.
In these hard economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you have a car, truck, or SUV, you could stop paying for all covered repairs. That's right. You might not have to pay a penny more than you want for repairs. Just call 1-800-610-7840 right now to see if you qualify. Repairs for your engine, transmission, and much more can become a thing of the past if your vehicle has less than 130,000 miles. Just call 800-610-7840 today and get your car protected, saving you hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Phone lines are open right now. See if your vehicle qualifies. Just call 1-800-610-7840 to get your car protected today. Call 800-610-7840. That's 1-800-610-7840. Never pay for covered car repairs again. Just call 800-610-7840. That's 1-800-610-7840.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to The Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Alan Grayson, you're the best. We love you. We need you back in Congress, and I'm here to do whatever I can to make that happen in my own little way.
Thanks. I enjoyed the time with you personally. I wish that the listeners could get to know you the way that I know you and understand that you're the same person off the air as you are on the air. It's not some kind of shtick. You really do care greatly about all the important things in life, and you understand that sometimes people just need a helping hand.
Yeah.
And that the world, as John Kennedy said, doesn't start out fair. You have to make it that way.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at RadioOrNot.com.
Want to sell? A new beginning is just a click away.
Monica Sells Miami is just a Gmail away.
A new place is just a click away.
Monica Sells Miami is just a Facebook.com away. Facebook.com/The Monocles.
A new home is just a click away.
Monica Sells Miami. 305-494-1248. Monica Uribe, ASAP Realty and Investment, North Miami Beach. 305-494-1248.
And now we return you to By the Glass.
Hey, welcome back to By the Glass. Can you believe that's a Bob Marley song? That's awesome. That's Bob. Back in the day when he was like, just jamming with the Wailers.
Dreadlocks.
Yeah, awesome. That's when he had little teeny dreadlocks.
Back when it was called ska, right?
Exactly. Thank you very much, John. Absolutely. Hey, welcome back to By the Glass, folks. This is a show about coffee, and we are very lucky to have Suzy and John here from Expresso. These guys came down to talk to us about coffee and all their expertise. They've been doing it for 20 years down there in Fort Lauderdale, right by the Broward General Hospital, 1900 South Andrews Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. If you're ever in their area, please go see them. They're very nice people, and they'll tell you they'll sell you a nice cup of coffee, but don't try to go inside because it's only a drive-through. So you might just have to drive around in a circle and talk to them while you're going, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? That type of thing. But other than that, just aces, man. So tell me a little bit about, we're moving into our next coffee here. What did you pour for us, and what do we got?
Okay, so we have a Honduran. It happens to be organically grown and shade.
That's a very interesting
fair
point.
Trade and all those controversial.
Okay,
subjects.
talk to me about all that. I want to hear
Okay.
about organic.
This is
fair
all
trade
going to be
because-
my opinion. So
Okay, I want to hear
it's
your
not-
opinion.
Okay, so organic, it sounds great, and I think we all want to have less pesticides that we're ingesting. But in general, I think most of the countries that grow coffee can't afford to pesticide things to the nth degree.
Right. I mean, especially
And-
South and Central America. I mean, they're not going to, yeah.
And also, the pesticides they use are more like fungicides, like natural occurring coppers and stuff that aren't like totally toxic to ingest, even if it's not organic.
Okay, so you're saying you don't think that they're necessarily all that bad. necessarily, but it also drives the organic aspect. That's got to drive the cost up tremendously.
Yes.
Right.
If they're having problems with pests, I mean, I just think in general these countries don't use a lot of pesticides.
So are you for or against it? Do you think it's just a big waste?
I think it's good to have it an option for people who are
wanna pay for it.
strict in their diet.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So that's cool. But I mean, in the end, but drinking coffee that's not necessarily organic isn't really a big deal. You don't think too much?
Not is it going to change the flavor too much? I haven't tried side by side if an organic.
I haven't. I hear the craze for organic everything, but I've never really heard a big desire for organic coffee. Have you guys heard that out there?
I haven't.
Especially with
hard to get, I think, too.
Hard to get, but it's not like they're trying to sell it in Greenwise or anything. It's not like something that's a big, massive. I'm sure they have it.
You'll see it in Greenwise. You'll see it in Whole Foods.
Yeah, maybe
it's rare.
This is my first coffee show. Okay, guys, come on. All right, jeez. No, just
first
kidding.
time having non-Cuban coffee, so there you go.
This is great though, and so basically, okay, so you poured us the Honduran. Now you talked before it's a cinnamon roast. Possibly that means a light roast in America.
Yep, a lighter roast. You're gonna taste more acid.
Right.
In it,
Okay,
maybe a livelier flavor.
High
notes.
Right. So the basis of lighter roast, less oil means more acid, maybe even a little crisper and drier.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, lighter body.
Mhm.
It's everything. Once again, mirroring the aspect of beverage culture and all different other beverages like wine and spirits and beer too. So that's very cool. So okay, so this one's a little bit more oil on top. Remember I talked about that some of them you can see the oil. So how does that work into it? Maybe that's just that's very cool. You definitely can see it. I never know. Okay, this one seems that even though you said it's lighter, I smell more richness in it.
Well, maybe more chocolatey.
Yeah, I smell more factors in there. Like,
Well, as you know, with beer, even the same thing. People talk about which is the lighter beer, but really, like an IPA is one of the lightest beers you can get, but it's one of the strongest flavors.
Right.
Really, color means nothing.
Nothing. It's kind of like the same thing with beer. Absolutely.
It means something, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be heavier or dark.
Right. So the darkness or the degree of roast doesn't necessarily have to do with the overall flavor component. So as we taste this, what are you thinking of this one, Dio? As I put this up to my lips here.
Woo, that's hot. Well, that's good. But it is
Another
light.
hit.
It is a lot lighter.
It's a lot lighter, but there's also definitely more.
Yeah,
But there's also a more specific coffee bite to the finish of it. The other one had a more mellow aspect in the finish. This one's got more of that acidic bite to me.
Yeah.
That's what I taste.
It's a higher acid, maybe grassier taste.
Right.
Yep.
Almost chocolate.
So I
Good,
see here. I got the
said
two
that
different. I got the two different beans here, and you can see that the Honduran organic is definitely a little bit lighter than the Sumatra.
Less oils.
Less
on the
oils for
surface.
sure. One's definitely drier, crisper. The Honduran is, and then the Sumatra's got more oils and it's darker. So right off the bat, it's going to tell you. Now, have you guys ever thought about coffee like this? I mean,
No.
really looked at the beans and all the different oils and the
I just
acids
think
and everything?
caffeine.
Yeah, but that's a good question too. Do they vary in their amount of caffeine? Is that something you guys rate?
Negligible.
So that means that it's really infinitesimal.
In the brewing process,
Right.
what gets extracted first, say in an espresso,
Right.
is flavor and color and concentration of, that, right? Intensity. And then as the water passes through the ground and little waterier drops are coming out and you're getting that truck stop weak crap, now you're getting like all the bad stuff that you really don't want in a cup of coffee. You're getting more caffeine. So
Right.
even if it's a thinner cup and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, you got more caffeine, which
Right.
maybe is appropriate for a truck stop.
Yeah.
But at first the espresso is just about flavor. So an espresso, it doesn't necessarily have more caffeine. I mean, it packs a punch, but mostly flavor wise.
That's so interesting. It's not necessarily what you would think. I mean, just because I always thought it was because it was small and concentrated. Now it's the machine itself and that high pressure. How does that affect? I mean, does that affect the flavor? I know that. Remember in 1994, I remember it well because I was living in San Francisco. An old lady drove through a McDonald's and she spilled coffee on herself as she was flying. You guys probably know this because this is what you do for a
We
living.
know all about
and
that.
she sued
We
the
have
piss out
signs
of them
because of that.
Right? So you remember that well. Now, McDonald's said that they needed to have their coffee served at a certain temperature in order for the flavor component to be what they needed it to be. Now, is that true, and how is that affected by the certain different vessels you serve it in? I mean, if you just do the certain percolator, the old school Mr. Coffee Wadalada, with a typical coffee machine, how does that differ in the flavor profile from when you get from an espresso machine, because it's high pressure, high heat?
Right, and short brewing time. So
Right,
again,
so-
you're going to get like all the sweetness, the nuttiness, the chocolatey. It's going to be a short little cup of coffee. It's just going to be the extract of coffee. It's
Right,
just
so
this
you're getting
mini
more of a
version.
concentrated.
Now, if you took an espresso and just kept pushing water through it and tried to make yourself a big mug of Joe, it would taste pretty bad.
It would taste
Really
bad because the acid and everything, and I think would dilute it, and it wouldn't work the same. Yeah, I've tried to make regular coffee with espresso, and it doesn't work right,
Right.
in a regular machine.
Well,
Vice versa.
You can
Yeah.
use espresso beans in a regular coffee maker, but you need to grind them for a regular machine. It's
Differently,
more about
that little powder, soft.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So talk to me about grinding. That's something we haven't talked about yet. I
Yeah.
mean, there's coarse
Yeah.
and fine, right, and everything in between.
There's actually 12 settings, I think, on the. Whoa.
True. Well, there's Turkish coffee out there. That's one spectrum, and then there's
Drank Turkish coffee, and the grind's
French
getting in
press.
your teeth, and it's nasty, and they're like,
not good first date stuff.
no, and it tastes like it's awesome,
And Greek
it
coffee's
tastes
worse.
kind of like menthol-y.
Yeah,
I don't really
it's
like
odd.
it. I mean, it was odd,
And
right?
Greek coffee's even worse. When you get done with a Greek coffee, it's half full of grounds, and they say, oh, that's
Yeah, you can
that's
read your
what's
future.
digested.
Oh, I think we're all gonna go broke. Yeah. No, but basically, it has a little bit of a menthol aspect to it that I didn't care for. So.
Strange.
And a misconception a lot of people have is that espresso is so strong. And like she said, really that first part of the brew is where you get your flavors and your sweetness. It's not where you get your caffeine. When you go to the diner and they've got a half a pot of coffee brewed and they whip it out and give you that, it's not the cup of coffee you expect because it's only got half of the brew in there. You really need the whole brew to get together to make that right cup of coffee.
You do, yeah, absolutely.
If you've never seen Turkish coffee, you got to Wikipedia that.
It's-
Really, it
it's
looks
odd.
crazy. It looks nasty.
Ooh, that's thick.
I
That
liked
is
it, but
thick.
it
looks
is
like
kind of
pudding.
Wow, that is
Whoa.
thick.
It's
It looks like ice cream.
And
Yeah,
it's
it almost looks like somebody put
extremely
a
fine.
muffin in a cup. That is absolutely nasty.
Wow.
It's extremely fine, right?
Wow.
It's even finer than espresso, and
Powder.
that's what
It's like
happens is it goes
baby
through the
powder.
filter.
But espresso has a nice white or blonde little head on there.
Right.
You know?
That's called the crema.
Oh, that is called. Oh, Sarah, that's got a name too. Okay, great. Now,
Cuban coffee,
Yeah,
an
it's just-
aficionado
yeah, it's
would look
just
for their crema.
Yeah, it's just a sugar.
I tell you what, a really well-made cup of coffee like that, you can't get rid of that crema. I mean, that just doesn't go away. And
That's
actually,
okay.
it creates a
Cup of
little.
coffee?
It creates a little crust on your lip.
It's kind of like a beer. The head should keep
Like hot
going.
milk.
Yeah.
If the
absolutely.
crema goes away, it wasn't brewed right, or it wasn't roasted right, or it wasn't ground right.
Jason,
or
would
something.
you do me a favor? I don't know if you guys want to try this too. Grab some small cups, beer wise or whatever, and also grab the Beta Turbo Dog. We're gonna get crazy, and we are gonna pour some coffee into a beer, and we're gonna see what it's like. I don't know if John. I don't know if John and Suzy want to
Ooh,
get
no,
funky.
no. This sounds. Let's get funky.
Let's get funky. I mean, I don't know of anybody ever doing it. I'm sure somebody's done it in the past, but
A Beto Turbo Dog won't. It'll be like complimentary colors. It'll be.
well, that's
good.
why I picked it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
so
it'll
you're a beer,
cool the
you're,
coffee
and you're a
down a
beer
little
person
bit.
too. A Beta Turbo Dog.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah,
So I picked it. It's interesting when you talked about can't necessarily judge a book by its cover or a coffee by its cup. Same thing with the Beta Turbo Dog. It's so light. Because when you're making beer, you use, let's say, 4 or 5 different types of malted barleys. Now, you're always going to use your base malt because that's going to have the most amount of sugars that are going to break down and be fermentable. But then you want to use about 8 to 10% of what they call black malts or even darker malts that are a very small part of the mash bill, but they carry a lot of really rich black dye to them. And they give you a lot of flavor, but they don't really inundate the overall body of the beer. And that's what Guinness is so light and easy drinking, but it's not necessarily a big, heavy beer. And people don't realize that. And I think that's the same concept that you were looking at with the coffee, correct?
And actually, Guinness is lower in
calories.
Right.
alcohol, taste,
Did you grab
everything. It's a
carbs?
much lighter beer in every way.
Jesse, you might need to grab 2, please. Grab the other one. I grabbed 2. So what I did, folks, is I got this Abita Turbo Dog, which is basically an American brown ale, and it's not necessarily a porter or a stout. We got another one coming. And what it does is, it's like I was explaining, it's very light, and it's not a very bitter beer at all. So it's a perfect beer to pour some coffee into. And what I'm thinking is, I wish it was a little bit. I cooled it off a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and
Mine is
pour my
still pretty
coffee in
hot.
there because the beer's cold. So I'm just going to add a little bit in there, and I'm going to see what it tastes like. I'm just going to go for it. And pouring coffee and beer, I don't say that I'm an innovator, but I've never heard of anybody doing it.
I've never heard
right
of it.
off the bat, it makes the head on the beer very, very nice and creamy.
try the beer
And it's definitely an interesting thing. Mix it together.
Yeah, I've had it before.
Let me tell you something. That's damn good. It doesn't really add anything negligible to the
We need to
beer.
get a liquor license.
And you know what? It's the coffee's so nice and not bitter. It has a really nice aspect to it. I mean, it's a little bitter, like we said, of coffees. It can probably, you said the Honduran can be the more bitter of them, but it's also light enough to work well with the actual beer. And this is pretty damn good. What do you think?
Well, this is nice. This is
It's a
refreshing.
new cocktail.
You know,
Yeah,
and the good
wow.
thing about it is that you don't get as drunk as quick because you got the caffeine in the coffee, and it gives you a little bit of a, it's kind of like
You get
drinking-
just as drunk, you just don't notice.
You just don't, which is also nice. It's actually not bad, and I was thinking about it today, and I said if you have a decent coffee that you can pour into a decent beer, it's actually something that people don't really think about, and it hasn't. The thing is, it hasn't changed the continuity of
That's
the beer
for when
at all.
you're drinking early in the day, right?
Yeah, it's a nice little weird mix.
The appearance is really nice too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It actually added a little bit of head.
I'm surprised.
It does.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's not
doing it.
it's not something that I bet if you told people about it, they'd probably be like, "Come on, dude!" But just actually doing it.
That's a lot of stuff on this show. There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of things that we do on the
this
show like this that we're just like, you know what? Screw it.
Let's
do
try it.
And we've very rarely
is anything bad.
Has anything ever really turned out badly? So very interesting and cool stuff. So, but folks, as we enjoy all these wonderful coffee products and we learn all about coffee and its history and everything, I'd like to. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Suzy and John, Suzy Ludlow and John Robichaud from Expresso. We got to thank. Yeah. I'm just getting all this out of the way. I'm getting all this out of the way so I can get into it. I'm going to thank Ed Roberts for putting it all together and everything, and everybody here tonight. So as we move into the latter part of the show here, I'd like to say, as we enjoy all these wonderful coffees, do we do so responsibly? We don't jitter down the road, right? Don't drink and drive.
Don't grind your teeth.
Don't grind your teeth. And always enjoy all products responsibly, whether it be beer, wine, spirits, coffee, everything. And do so. No drinking under 21. If you're pregnant, you can wait the 9 months. No overconsumption, and please don't drink and drive. That's a big part of it. So, moving right along here, now we get to the fun part of the show because we're going to talk a little bit about the cat poop coffee. And Jason's a big fan of cat poop. He likes to roll around in it, and basically, he was very excited to hear that we were bringing it on the show today. So we brought it up. And what is cat coffee? Well, is it really pooped out of cats? Well, I guess it's also really the answer is also it's known as a Kopi Luwak, which is the cat coffee. It's a type of coffee made. And the beans are excreted by a small Indonesian mammal, sometimes called cat poop coffee. But is it really a type of coffee? Yes, it's not really made from cat poop. It's actually a civet-like animal, and I'm not going to say what they call it, but it's a luwak, Kopi Luwak, and that's what they call it. And it's interesting. We have a beer here tonight that is made in Copenhagen, Denmark, with the Kopi Luwak. And have you guys heard about Kopi Luwak? Tell me, have you heard anything about it at all?
I've heard tales.
Right. Well, the interesting thing about it, if you can get past the gross out factor of this rare and unusual coffee, you're likely to be in for a culinary treat. The digestive process of the luwak removes much of the acid from the coffee bean and creates a unique enzyme, an enzymatic change that happens to the bean and results in a particularly rich, smooth, complex, sweet cup of coffee. And coffee connoisseurs, such as yourself, are known to pay up to $300 or more for a single pound of this cat.
$600 per pound, only 1,000 pounds per year.
Yeah, that's made, and that's because they got to actually
Harvesting.
They get around on their hands and knees and look for poop. Yeah, I've done that, but not for coffee.
Yeah,
absolutely. But
that was the 80s.
That was the 80s. Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna try. Hey, she said it, not me. So we're gonna try the Mikkeller beer, Greek Brunch Weasel. And yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Greek brunch weasel. So it's interesting they talk about this little weasel that can,
the weasel.
The wheeze, right? No, I'm gonna pour a little water in here, and we got the boot for you guys if you want to pour some
Das
water
Boot.
in. Yeah, and this will clean us out, and we can do that. And a little bit of coffee isn't gonna ruin anything because it's a coffee flavored beer. Thank you so much to Ed Roberts for getting us this beer. This beer is highly coveted, and you cannot get this anywhere around here at all. And this is something you have to trade for.
Wow. You can't buy that at Total Wine?
No. This Imperial Oatmeal Stout is brewed with one of the world's most expensive coffees, made from droppings of a weasel-like civet cat. The fussy Southeast Asian animals only eat the best and ripest coffee beans. What they are is they're up in the trees and stuff, and they eat that little cherry, and in the cherry is that little green bean, and then they just kind of poop it out. And yeah, and they go around and everybody got some?
Yeah.
So this is the beer, and I wish I could pronounce it, but it's a Meat Keller Beer Geek Brunch Weasel.
Weasel.
So, wow, this is intense, man. Yeah. Wow. This is
Dark
an
and
Imperial
dirty.
Oatmeal
Really?
Stout, so it's got to be up around 10% alcohol.
And look at the wisps.
There you go. This is beautiful. I mean, you look at the head on this beer; it's absolutely gorgeous. Classic in its style of an Imperial Oatmeal Stout means that it's not going to have a lot of head on it, just enough. But when you shake it around in the glass, this is absolutely perfect. Creamy tan head, really nice. The aromatics are there. They're not using a ton of hops, just enough hops to balance the malt, right? But it's absolutely exceptional on the smell. Anybody taste it yet? What do you think?
Yeah,
Yes, I tasted it.
It's good, and it's completely different than any other.
This is
porter
truly,
I've
this is truly a connoisseur of coffee and beer here. The treat here, and you can taste. You can taste the finish on this. It almost tastes like an incense or. You can taste the poop?
I can really taste the poop.
No.
I think something's floating in mine. Very cool, very funny. We'd like to thank everybody. That's why I got it out of the way. Thanks, Ed Roberts. Thanks to John and Suzy. You guys are awesome. Please go down and see these guys. Check them out. Say hi. Go down and wave hi. Like I said, you could do donuts around the place and taunt them and go, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? They're like, hey, get in line and get some coffee. No, don't do that. I'm just kidding. But it was a pleasure to have you guys on, and we'd love to come by and we'll say hello. And thanks again to Ed and everybody involved. And hopefully we'll see you next week. And we love you out there. Drive safe, be safe. Thanks again, and have a great night. And thank you for listening to By the Glass Show.
SoFloRadio.com and SoFloTelevision.com.